The pain of being let down by a friend is one of the deepest cuts. It creates a solitude that feels like a prison. But what if that feeling is based on a misunderstanding? What if the key to connection is hidden in a simple but radical shift in perception? The final insight in this video will change how you see every relationship you have. Don't miss it. Painful attachments. We must begin with the feeling itself, because the feeling is the guide. It is the compass that points us toward the area that requires our attention. This feeling of loneliness, of betrayal, of being left behind by someone we called a friend. Where does it come from? It feels as if it comes from the other person. Their action or their inaction is the cause, and our pain is the effect. This is the surface level understanding, and it is where most of us remain. But the path of clarity requires us to look deeper, not just at the event, but at the structure that allowed the event to hurt us so deeply. It is like a house. If a strong wind blows and a window breaks, we can blame the wind. But we can also ask, why was the glass so fragile? Why was the frame not secure? The wind is just the wind. It does what it does. Our suffering is not in the wind, but in the fragility of our window. The same is true for our relationships. We build these structures of expectation around people. We call them friend, best friend, brother, sister. These are not just words. They are containers. And into these containers, we pour all of our hopes, our needs, our unspoken demands. We expect them to be there for us in a certain way, to understand us without us having to speak, to prioritize us, to mirror our own level of commitment. We build this intricate, beautiful, but incredibly fragile palace of glass. And then we ask another person to live inside it and never ever touch the walls. Is it any wonder that eventually a sound is made, a crack appears? The person, simply by being themselves, by having their own needs, their own path, their own moments of confusion or distraction, inevitably bumps into one of our invisible walls, and the entire structure shatters. The pain we feel is the sound of that shattering glass. It is real, it is sharp, but we mistake the person for the cause. The person was just being a person. The true cause was the nature of the structure we built. It was an attachment. An attachment is not love. Love is open. It is free. It is giving without demanding a return. Attachment is a contract. It is a silent agreement that says, I will give you this if you will be this for me. And because it is silent, the other person rarely even knows they have signed it. So when they break the terms of a contract they never read, we feel betrayed. But who truly has betrayed whom? Have they betrayed us, or have we betrayed ourselves by placing our inner peace in the hands of another? This is a difficult question, but it is the first step. To look at the pain not as an attack from the outside, but as a signal from the inside. A signal that our foundation is built on something unstable. It is a call not to build stronger walls around our hearts, but to question the need for walls at all. This investigation is not about blaming ourselves. Blame is just another form of judgment, another form of suffering. It is about cultivating clarity, to see the mechanics of our own mind. When you feel that sting of disappointment, the practice is to pause. Instead of immediately focusing on the other person, their flaws, their actions, we turn the light of awareness inward. We ask, what was I expecting? What silent contract did I create? What need within myself was I asking this person to fulfill? In the beginning, this is not easy. The habit of looking outward is very strong. But with gentle, persistent practice, we can begin to see the pattern. We see that this is not the first time this has happened. The faces change, the situations change, but the underlying feeling, the shattering, is the same. This shows us that the root of the issue is not in the cast of characters, but in the play itself, and we are the author of that play. The power to rewrite it, therefore, has been with us all along. We just didn't know where to look. The path begins here, with this honest, compassionate look at our own attachments. Unclear definitions. What is a friend? We use this word so freely, but what does it actually mean? If we were to ask 10 different people, we would receive 10 different answers. For one person, a friend is someone you speak to every day. For another, it is someone you can call at 3 in the morning after years of silence. For a third, it is a person who shares your hobbies. For a fourth, it is someone who supports you unconditionally. For a fifth, it is someone who tells you the hard truth. The definition is a ghost. It is formless, and this is precisely where the difficulty begins. We hold in our heart a very specific, personal, and often unspoken definition of what a friend should be, and we project this definition onto another human being. We are not seeing them, we are seeing our definition draped over them like a cloak. We are in a relationship not with the person, but with our idea of the person. This is a subtle but profound distinction. The person in front of us is a dynamic, changing, complex being, just like us. They have good days and bad days. They have moments of great wisdom and moments of foolishness. They have their own attachments, their own pains, their own silent contracts they are placing on the world and on us. They are a flowing river. But our definition, our idea of friend, is a static, rigid statue, and we are constantly trying to make the flowing river fit into the shape of the unmoving statue. It is an impossible task. It is a source of constant friction and inevitable disappointment. The river will always overflow the banks of our expectations. Think of the pressure this places on another person. To be a friend to us, they must somehow intuit our secret definition and then perform it perfectly. And we do the same for them. We are two people, each trying to live up to a ghost-like ideal in the other's mind. It is a dance of shadows. There is no real contact, no real meeting. There is only the meeting of two sets of expectations. And when those expectations are not met, we say the friendship has failed. But perhaps it was not the friendship that failed. Perhaps the concept itself was the flaw, the label, the box we tried to put a boundless human connection into. The word friend becomes a prison for both people. It limits the possibilities of the connection. The practice then is to become aware of our definitions. How do you define a friend? Write it down. Be honest. What are the unspoken rules you have for the people in your life? Do they need to respond to your messages within a certain time? Do they need to agree with your opinions? Do they need to be available when you are feeling down? Look at this list. This is not a list of what a friend is. This is a list of your needs, your attachments, your desires. And there is nothing wrong with having needs, but it is a mistake to make another person responsible for them. When we see this list, we can begin to understand that the problem is not that we have bad friends. The problem is that we have made the job of friend an impossible one. No one can carry that weight. It is not fair to ask them to. By releasing them from the burden of our definition, we also release ourselves. We release ourselves from the constant work of checking, of monitoring, of judging whether they are living up to the role we have assigned them. We can let them be who they are, a fellow traveler on a difficult path. External reliance. Our modern world trains us for external reliance. From a young age, we are taught to seek validation from outside ourselves. We seek good grades from teachers, approval from parents, popularity among peers. As we grow older, this pattern continues. We seek promotions from bosses, likes on social media, and emotional completion from a partner or a friend. We have been conditioned to believe that our sense of self-worth, our happiness, and our peace are located somewhere out there. We are like a person who is thirsty but believes water can only come from another's cup. So we spend our lives running around asking others for a sip of water. Sometimes they give it, sometimes they do not. Sometimes their cup is empty, and our well-being becomes entirely dependent on their generosity. This is the foundation of suffering. When we apply this model to friendship, we are essentially saying, my inner peace requires you. My happiness depends on your actions. You are the custodian of my emotional state. This is a tremendous burden to place on another person. It is, in fact, an act of subtle violence. We are making them responsible for something that can only ever be found within ourselves. We look to our friend to be our cheerleader, our therapist, our confidant, our partner in crime. We want them to fill the voids within us. If we feel lonely, we call them to cure our loneliness. If we feel insecure, we look to them for validation. If we are bored, we expect them to entertain us. We are using them as a tool to manage our own inner world. This is not connection, it is consumption. We are consuming their time, their energy, their emotional resources to patch the holes in our own sense of self. And for a while this can work. The friend might be happy to provide this, but it is not sustainable because their own resources are finite. They have their own voids, their own needs, and a day will come when they cannot give us what we are asking for. A day will come when they are tired or distracted or facing their own crisis. And on that day, because our entire strategy for well-being is based on them, we will not just feel disappointed, we will feel abandoned. We will feel as if our very survival is threatened because the source of our water has been cut off. The pain we feel is a symptom of this external reliance. It is a withdrawal. The solution, therefore, cannot be to find a better friend who has a fuller cup. That is just perpetuating the same cycle. The solution is to find our own well. The path to true, unshakable peace is the path of turning inward. It is the gradual, patient work of learning to provide for our own needs, to learn how to sit with our own loneliness without panic, to learn how to validate ourselves instead of seeking it from others, to learn how to find joy and contentment in our own company. This is not a path of selfishness. It is the opposite. When you are no longer desperately thirsty, you are not trying to take water from everyone you meet. Instead, your own cup begins to overflow, and you find that you have an abundance of water to share, freely and without condition. You can offer a drink to others, not because you have to, but simply because your cup is full. This is the shift from a friendship based on need to a connection based on giving. Internal source. The journey from external reliance to an internal source is the central work of a conscious life. It is the journey home. For so long, we have been living as beggars, convinced that the treasure we seek is in someone else's pocket. The great revelation, the turning point, is the discovery that the treasure has been inside us all along. We are the source of the love, validation, and peace that we have been seeking from others. The entire universe of emotional experience is generated from within. No one can make you happy. No one can make you sad. They can perform an action, and you, based on your inner conditioning, your beliefs, and your attachments, will generate a response of happiness or sadness. The power is, and always has been, within you. This is not an abstract philosophical idea. It is a practical reality. Think about it. Have you ever felt lonely in a crowded room? Have you ever felt perfectly content while completely alone? This shows that loneliness is not determined by the presence or absence of other people. It is an internal state. It is a feeling of being disconnected from yourself. When you are disconnected from your own inner source, you could be surrounded by 1,000 loving friends and still feel a profound emptiness. Conversely, when you are deeply connected to yourself, when you are comfortable in your own skin, you can be in physical solitude and feel a deep sense of companionship. This is the companionship of the self. Cultivating this internal source is a practice, like strengthening a muscle. It begins with the simple act of being with yourself, without distraction. We are so accustomed to running away from ourselves. The moment we feel a flicker of discomfort, boredom, sadness, anxiety, we reach for our phone, we turn on the television, we call a friend. We do anything to avoid being alone with that feeling. The practice is to do the opposite, to stay, to sit with the discomfort, to allow the feeling to be there without judging it or trying to fix it, to simply observe it with a gentle, curious attention. What does loneliness actually feel like in the body? Where is it located? Is it a tightness in the chest, an emptiness in the stomach? Just watch it. Do not become the story of, "I am so lonely." Just observe the raw sensation. When we do this, a strange thing happens. The feeling, which seems so solid and overwhelming, begins to lose its power. It reveals itself to be just a temporary cloud passing through the vast sky of our awareness. It comes, it stays for a while, and it goes. By not fighting it, we allow it to complete its natural course. And in the space that it leaves behind, we find a quiet stillness, a peace. This is our home base. This is the internal source. It is always there, beneath the turbulent waves of our thoughts and emotions. The more we practice returning to this stillness, the stronger our connection to it becomes. We are no longer a ship tossed about on a stormy sea, desperate for another boat to tie ourselves to. We have found our own anchor. We can be in the midst of the storm, but a part of us remains grounded, steady, and calm. This is true self-reliance. It is the foundation upon which all healthy relationships can be built. Cultivating stillness. The process of finding this internal source is one of cultivating stillness. In a world that glorifies noise, speed, and constant stimulation, the act of choosing stillness is a radical one. Stillness is not emptiness. It is not a void. It is a state of profound fullness and potential. It is the silent, fertile ground from which all true insight and creativity emerge. When a lake is turbulent, you cannot see the bottom. All you see are distorted reflections. But when the water becomes still, clarity arises. You can see all the way to the bottom. You can see the stones, the fish, the plants exactly as they are. Our mind is like this lake. When it is agitated by constant thoughts, desires, and fears, we cannot see reality clearly. We see only the distorted reflections of our own conditioning. Cultivating stillness is the practice of letting the sediment of the mind settle. How do we do this? The breath is the most immediate tool we have. The breath is always with us, from the moment we are born to the moment we die. It is the bridge between the body and the mind. When we are agitated, our breath is shallow and rapid. When we are calm, our breath is deep and slow. We can use this connection deliberately. By consciously slowing down and deepening our breath, we send a signal to our nervous system that it is safe to relax. We send a signal to the mind that it can cease its frantic activity. The practice can be as simple as taking 3 conscious breaths. Inhale deeply, feeling the abdomen expand. Exhale slowly, letting go of all tension. Just 3 breaths. But in that small gap, we have created a moment of stillness. This can be extended into a more formal practice of sitting meditation, to set aside 10 or 20 minutes each day to simply sit. Not to achieve anything, not to have a special experience, but simply to be present with what is, to feel the sensation of the body sitting on the chair, to feel the air on the skin, to hear the sounds in the room, and to watch the thoughts as they arise and pass like clouds in the sky. We do not chase the thoughts, we do not fight them, we acknowledge them, and then we gently return our attention to the anchor of the breath. In the beginning, the mind will be like a wild monkey, jumping from branch to branch. This is normal. The practice is not to stop the monkey from jumping, but to simply keep bringing it back, gently and without judgment, to the same branch. This practice of stillness changes our relationship with ourselves. We learn to be our own companion. We learn that we do not need to be entertained or distracted every moment of the day. We can find a quiet contentment simply by being. This is the end of loneliness. Loneliness is the fear of being alone with ourselves. When we cultivate stillness, we are no longer afraid. We begin to enjoy our own company. We become our own best friend in the truest sense of the word. Not a friend who tells us what we want to hear, but a friend who is simply present with us through everything. A friend who offers a silent, unwavering space of acceptance. When you have this kind of friendship with yourself, your relationships with others are transformed. You no longer approach them as a beggar, asking them to fill your emptiness. You approach them as a sovereign being, ready to share the fullness of your own presence. Skillful action. Once we have begun to cultivate this inner stillness and connect with our own source, our actions in the world begin to change. This is the meaning of skillful action. It is not about following a set of rules, but about acting from a place of clarity and compassion rather than from a place of neediness and fear. Our interactions with others are no longer driven by the hidden agenda of "what can I get from you?" Instead, they are guided by the question, what is the most compassionate way to be in this situation? This changes everything. When you are no longer trying to manage another person's behavior to meet your own needs, you can truly see them for the first time. You can listen to them with an open heart. Imagine you are having a conversation with a friend who is upset. The old model, based on external reliance, would be to immediately try to fix their problem. We offer advice, we tell them what to do, We share stories of our own to show them we understand. And while these actions may come from a good intention, they are often subtly rooted in our own discomfort. We want to fix their pain because their pain makes us uncomfortable. We want them to be happy again so that our interaction can return to being pleasant for us. The focus is still, in a way, on ourselves. Skillful action, born from inner stillness, approaches the situation differently because you are anchored in your own peace. You are not rattled by their storm. You can simply be present with them. You can offer them the gift of your silent, non-judgmental attention. You can listen, not just to their words, but to the feelings behind the words. You do not need to have the answers. You do not need to solve their problem. The greatest gift you can offer is to create a safe space for them to explore their own feelings, to be a calm, steady presence in the midst of their chaos. This is a profound act of love. It is offering them the same stillness that you have been cultivating within yourself. You become a mirror for their own potential for peace. This kind of interaction is deeply healing for both people. They feel truly seen and heard, and you reinforce your own connection to your inner source by sharing its qualities. This skillfulness extends to all interactions. When someone says something that might have previously triggered your anger or insecurity, you now have a choice. Because you have practiced sitting with discomfort, you do not have to react automatically. You can feel the initial spark of anger arise, but you do not have to throw fuel on it. You can observe it, take a breath, and create a space between the stimulus and your response. In that space lies your freedom. You can choose to respond with understanding instead of anger. You can choose to ask a question instead of making an accusation. You can choose to remain silent instead of escalating a conflict. This is not weakness. It is a sign of immense inner strength. It is the strength that comes from not needing the world to be a certain way for you to be okay. You are already okay. Your peace is not up for negotiation. From this stable ground, you can engage with the world with wisdom, grace, and profound effectiveness. True companionship. As we travel further down this path, our entire understanding of relationships begins to shift. The concept of friendship as a special, exclusive category starts to dissolve. We see that the search for a perfect friend was really a search for a perfect mirror for our own needs and ego. When we let go of that search, we open ourselves up to something far more vast and beautiful: true companionship. True companionship is not based on a transaction. It is not, "I will be there for you if you will be there for me." It is a recognition of a shared journey. We are all walking this path of being human. We all experience joy and sorrow, confusion and clarity, fear and love. We are all, in a sense, in the same boat. True companionship is the simple, profound act of acknowledging this shared humanity in everyone we meet. The person who makes your coffee in the morning, the stranger you pass on the street, the colleague you work with, the person you have known for 20 years, they are all fellow travelers. They all have a complex inner world, a history of joys and pains, a set of hopes and fears, just like you. When we see this, the rigid boundaries between friend and stranger begin to soften. Every interaction becomes an opportunity for connection, for a moment of shared presence. It can be as simple as making eye contact and offering a genuine smile. It can be listening with your full attention for just 30 seconds. It is the quality of the presence we bring to the moment that matters, not the duration or the history of the relationship. This does not mean we treat everyone exactly the same. There will naturally be people with whom our paths align more closely. There will be people with whom we share a deeper resonance and a more extensive history. This is natural and beautiful, but the underlying basis of the relationship changes. It is no longer a relationship of need, but a relationship of resonance. We are drawn to them not because they fill a void in us, but because their presence helps us connect more deeply with our own inner source, and our presence perhaps does the same for them. It is a companionship of two whole beings, not two halves trying to make a whole. There is a lightness to it, a freedom. There are no heavy expectations, no silent contracts. There is just an appreciation for the shared walk. This is the ultimate freedom in relationships. When you do not need anyone to be anything for you, you are free to love them for exactly who they are. and they in turn feel safe to be themselves around you because they know they are not being constantly measured against an invisible yardstick of your expectations. This creates an atmosphere of trust and authenticity that is far deeper than anything a need-based friendship can offer. You become a source of peace, not just for yourself, but for everyone you interact with. You become a walking sanctuary. The search for a friend ends because you have realized that the entire world can be your companion, and you can be a companion to the entire world. The journey shifts from seeking companionship to being companionship, liberating emptiness. And so we arrive back at the beginning. We arrive back at this seemingly harsh statement: no one is your friend. After this journey, can we now see it not as a sentence of despair, but as a declaration of liberation? It is a key that unlocks the prison of our own expectations. When no one is your friend, no one can fail at being your friend. When you release the world from the job of making you happy, you finally give yourself the power to be happy. The statement is not about rejecting people. It is about rejecting the labels, the attachments, the silent contracts that we impose upon our connections and that cause us so much suffering. It is about emptying the relationship of all the things it was never meant to hold. This is the concept of emptiness in its most profound sense. It is not a negative void. It is not nothingness. It is a liberating spaciousness. Imagine you have a cup that is filled with dirty, stagnant water. This is our typical relationship, filled with needs, expectations, and past hurts. To drink fresh, pure water, you must first empty the cup. The act of emptying feels like a loss. It feels like you have nothing, but it is only in that emptiness that there is space for something new and pure to be received. No one is your friend is the act of emptying the cup. It is the act of letting go of our rigid, suffocating definitions of friendship. What flows into this empty space? Love, compassion, true connection, a connection that is not conditional on behavior, a love that is not a transaction. When you no longer need anything from another person, you are free to simply enjoy them. You can celebrate their successes without feeling jealous. You can support them in their struggles without feeling burdened. You can delight in their uniqueness without trying to change them. The relationship becomes a dance, not a wrestling match. It is light, joyful, and free. You are no longer clinging to them, afraid they will leave. You are holding them in an open palm. If they stay, it is beautiful. If they go, it is also beautiful, because your own peace and well-being do not go with them. This is the final, most powerful insight. The statement is a paradox. By accepting that no one is your friend in the old, attached sense of the word, you open the door to becoming a true friend to everyone. You stop being a consumer of relationships and become a provider of presence. You stop seeking love and you become a source of love. The loneliness that started this whole journey is revealed to be an illusion, a ghost created by a misunderstanding. The path out of the prison was never to find a better cellmate. It was to realize that the door was never locked. By dropping the need for a friend, you become a friend to yourself. And when you are a true companion to yourself, you are never, ever alone. This is not a destination you arrive at one day. It is a continuous practice. It is a path you walk with every breath, every interaction, every choice. It is the gentle, moment-by-moment letting go of our attachments and the opening to the vast, compassionate space that lies within. The path is not to find a friend, but to become one, to yourself and to the world. For years, I've carried so much pain from friendships that ended, always feeling like I was the victim. This completely reframed it for me. The idea that my pain comes from the silent contracts I create is shattering in a good way. It's like I was handing people a rule book they never even knew existed, and then getting angry when they broke the rules. The thought of being my own companion first feels incredibly difficult, but also like the only real way forward. Thank you for this clarity.